Hey chat. Roguelikes are among some of the best things to ever hit this earth. Jungkook, the McDonald's BTS meal, and BTS all pale in comparison to the cultural impact roguelikes have had on the gaming world. Anything can be a roguelike. You got dungeon crawlers, third-person shooters, top-down shooters, Elden Ring. The list goes on a lot longer, but you get the idea. Any type of game can also be a roguelike. And if you're anything like me, you get bored of playing games pretty easily. If I ever have to do something again, it better be different enough for me to stay interested, or fun enough so that I don't care and want to keep playing. I could play a game like Elden Ring for a long time because it's just so fun, and it also keeps things interesting by letting you switch up your playstyle at any times with hundreds of different weapons and spells. Elden Ring is a perfect example of a game that is. Now, what is a roguelike? For the purpose of this video, I will not be acknowledging the existence of the term roguelite, because in my mind there is no such thing as a roguelite, and they are all just roguelikes. Now that being said, a roguelike is any game that has you in a any game that has you in a randomly generated world where if you die, you go back to the very start. There are also cool random items and passives you can get along the way. Now these rules don't have to be followed to a T. For example, Risk of Rain has pre-made maps but still has a lot of RNG aspects that make it still qualify as a roguelike. Roguelikes by nature are able to keep things interesting and fresh because of the RNG aspect. But not all roguelikes are created equal. Most of them are actually pretty bad, but some of them even suffer just from being a roguelike. For example, this game Ocho. Yes, that is how you pronounce it. Ocho is a lot of fun. It's like Hotline Miami if it was a roguelike. I had fun with it for a little while, but then after just 2 sessions of playing, I decided it wasn't really fun enough to keep playing. And I think the biggest problem the game has is it's randomly generated. The biggest problem I had was the level design. Hotline Miami is excellent on so many levels. The level design is on point, not to mention you are constantly wondering how all these seemingly random pieces are going to fit together. I'm not going to spoil Hotline Miami, but my point is it keeps you hooked until the very end, not only with solid gameplay, but also with the mystery of what's really going on here. I'm talking about Hotline Miami 2, by the way. My biggest problem with Ocho is the level design is stale and it gets boring pretty fast. The gameplay is solid, I guess, but it just doesn't have enough to keep me coming back like the other roguelikes I'm about to get into. I kind of forgot about what this section was supposed to be about, but it's fine. While there are some misplaced roguelikes, like the aforementioned Ocho, there are also some roguelikes that are so well made that I still haven't got bored of them. Risk of Rain 2 is amazing, from the enemies and bosses to the items to the playable characters called survivors. Each survivor is unique and fun with their own playstyle and item synergies. The bosses are incredible, each one has a different strategy you have to employ to effectively take it out. And don't even get me started on the final boss. Mithrix, the King of Nothing, is absolute cinema. But the thing that I think takes Risk of Rain 2 to the next level, what makes this game so fun and replayable, is its take on items. Most roguelikes have a lot of diverse items that let every run be fun and unique, and Risk of Rain 2 is no different, except for the fact that every item is infinitely stackable. So you got the basic speed item. You can get 100 of those and fling yourself across the map, breaking the sound barrier, or you can get a bunch of the armor item to never take damage again. Those are some basic examples, but not every item is so basic. For example, this item called Will of the Wisp. It says that every time you kill something, it makes an explosion that does area of effect damage to the surrounding enemies. Each stack of this item makes the explosion bigger and deal more damage. So you can get a scenario like this. All this may seem a little overpowered, and it is, but even though Risk of Rain wants you to get overpowered, it has no problem killing you in 1 second before you even realize what's going on. When I said what makes Risk of Rain 2 so good is the items, what I actually meant was it has the perfect balance between giving you an insane power trip while also being a fun and challenging experience. Oh, and don't even get me started on the music. Wait, did I already say that? Don't even get me started on the final one. No. Oh yeah, and the music. I can go on and on about why Chris Christodoulou is one of the greatest music composers of all time, but I'll just say, the music is the perfect cherry on top to this already incredible game. The next game is very different than Risk of Rain. You probably saw this one coming. The Binding of Isaac is probably the most recognizable roguelike in the whole world, and I've known about it for a pretty long time, but I never really played it until late 2022. And all I could think about was, why did I wait so long to play this masterpiece? The reason I waited so long was when I saw The Binding of Isaac for the first time, my Christian brain was like, oh, that's some devil-type game, blasphemy, ew. That is how my brain sounds, by the way. Every once in a while I would think about it and decide not to try it because there are a million other games I could play and have a lot of fun with. But then one fateful day I got to thinking, I have seen almost nothing about Binding of Isaac, how could I even claim it to be blasphemous if I haven't even seen it? That's like if somebody said that the Final Fantasy VII Remake was garbage after watching Video Game Donkey's video talking about it. It's unfair and unfounded. Final Fantasy VII Remake is garbage, by the way. So I finally decided to play The Binding of Isaac. And boy was I surprised. Not only by the fact that calling it sacrilegious was based on a horrible misjudgment of what the game is trying to get across, thanks Matt, but also, this game is really fun. The gameplay is solid, the sheer amount of items and synergies are immaculate. You keep unlocking secret after secret, getting more floors with new bosses, you're constantly being surprised by the new characters and unlocks, it's awesome. I played through this game almost completely blind up until I finished the beast fight, and I wish I had a recording for when I first found the void floor and fought Delirium, or the first time I found the mother fight in the corpse floor. But the moment when I found the ascent into the dogma fight into the beast fight, that's when I knew this was one of the greatest games of all time. I ended up 100%ing 2 files and I'm currently working on my 3rd. Most people have already played The Binding of Isaac, but if you haven't, just play it. I still haven't gotten to my favorite roguelike, but objectively speaking, I think The Binding of Isaac is probably the best roguelike ever made, so far. Binding of Isaac is super popular, but let's get into a game that's a little more underground. If you're a viewer of me, and which you're not because I have no viewers, but if you are, then you know that I love Noita is a lot, so bear with me while I explain. Noita is a game where you play as this little witch called Mina. Your goal is simple. End the world by turning everything and everyone into gold. Okay, let's back up a bit. You need to go down through these different floors, killing enemies, collecting spells and wands to make an overpowered wand of death and destruction. Eventually, you get to the final boss, Colby Silma. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. Noita is the most unforgiving, non-beginner friendly experience probably ever made. The biggest problem I have with Noita isn't how hard the game is, but how hard it is to get somebody to play it. Even I wrote it off as bad multiple times myself because I just didn't get it. Because if you go in blind like I did, then you'll be like, oh, this is pretty cool, every pixel is simulated, I get to make my own wands with the spells that I pick up, that's cool. And then you die in the second area. You don't really feel like your death was fair, but you go back to try again. And this time you meet this overpowered fire wizard in the first area and he kills you with ease because you're bad at the game. You keep banging your head against the wall that is Noita until you finally decide that this game just isn't fun. So why is Noita on this list even though I just said it wasn't a good experience? That's because Noita is just pretending to be a bad game. And while that technically does fit into the entire theme of Noita, it's just a little bit frustrating when you finally realize just how good this game is. No one believes you and you just have to say, trust me bro. I would have been forever unaware of the greatness that lies beneath the layers upon layers in this game if I didn't watch Albino's Noita videos. I've been talking about Noita for too long, so I'll just leave you with this demonstration of how deep this game goes. See this big map? These are the 6 areas you need to go through. And this is the final boss area. That is all you need to go through to beat this game. But this isn't the full map. This is the full map. Because this game isn't about killing Colby. It's about gaining knowledge and breaking the barriers the world has set for you. The amount of things that there are to do and find in this game are insane. and some of the puzzles haven't even been solved yet after like 6 years of being out. I could make a whole video about the different things in Noita, but just go play it. Now that I got all that rambling out of the way, let's talk about Brutal Orchestra is great. It's a turn-based strategy roguelike with amazing art direction and actually engaging turn-based combat, which is not something a lot of turn-based games have. It achieves this by using one of the most genius and unique mana systems I've ever seen, the pigment system. You get 3 basic yellow pigments to use per turn, and you get more by dealing or taking damage. Every character and enemy has a different health color that tells you what color pigments you'll get from dealing damage to them. On top of the pigment system, you have to get really creative with combos because almost every character feels like they have half of a character's moveset. So you have to get a team that works together well. You can have up to 5 characters per fight, but you almost never want to do this because this game pulls no punches, and it doesn't mind making extremely unfair enemies. They balance out the extremely unfair enemy design by telling you exactly what the enemies are going to do. So you gotta deal enough damage while also moving your guys around so that you take as little damage as possible. This game really makes you think about each action you're taking, because if you make a single mistake, you are going to pay dearly for it. For example, if you make the horrible mistake of bringing your whole squad into this fight against the first boss, sometimes he just insta-kills the dude in front of him. He just does that. And character deaths are permanent, by the way. For this fight, you probably only want 3 characters at most because you need to be dodging his attacks. And getting the right balance of solid damage and not getting one-hit KO'd is what makes me adore this game. I really enjoy a game that makes you think. Next up, we got is like Inscription, but if it was good. I don't even know why Slay the Spire is so fun, I just like playing this game. I'm super excited about the second one whenever that decides to come out, but we've been talking about good roguelikes for a long time, and I promise to offer my opinion on the #1 best roguelike of all time. And it's not Enter the Gungeon, it's not Dead Cells, it's not Hades, she wasn't even 12. The best roguelike of all time so far, in my opinion, is Spelunky 2 is peak. It's one of the most challenging games I've ever played, and yet it still feels fair, most of the time. When you don't really understand how the game works, it's easy to feel like you were robbed and died because the game didn't want you to survive, and trust me, it didn't. But if you think about every single death you have in Spelunky 2, it's pretty easy to realize a major problem you had which led to your death. Whether you were rushing or not paying attention to every single little thing, somehow your death was your fault. The movement and the traps and the enemies just work so well together. There are like 10 items in the whole game, so there isn't really much run variety outside of the levels being completely random. There are multiple paths you can take, but outside of that, every run is pretty similar. What isn't similar is how every run ends. You could play this game for hundreds of hours, and the game still has a couple dozen ways to kill you that you couldn't even imagine. Each unique death that you undergo is a learning experience that aids you in your future runs. And unlike literally every other game I talked about, Spelunky 2 has absolutely no meta progression. The only thing you take into your next run is the knowledge of how not to die like that again. And maybe, after you play enough runs, you'll finally get to the very end of the Cosmic Ocean and become one with the stars. But probably not, because according to this website I found, there are like 180 people that have beaten Cosmic Ocean. I haven't beaten it. I've only ever gotten to 741. Which isn't bad, but I want to be one of the few people that can say they've gotten all the way to the very end of Spelunky 2. And if you want to potentially see me get to Cosmic Ocean level 99, then you should come follow me on Twitch and come say hi next time I'm streaming because I'm always playing the Spelunky daily. Anyways, Spelunky 2 is my favorite roguelike. The best roguelike, dare I say. Make sure to tell me why I'm wrong and what the actual best roguelike is in the comments. And also, Eugenics looks so good, dude. I can't wait to get my hands on that game.